Welcome back to WCS Premier League round of 32. We kicked off the day by watching the Australian Terran Aigus 2-0 the Chinese Protoss MacSed, and we just saw HuK fall 0-2 to Wellmu. Before our next match of the day between MacSed and HuK, this is it. It is elimination time. These two have played once before, where HuK came out on top 2-0. However, this was 2 years ago. Today, this PvP can be anyone's game, so who will come out on top and hold on to their Premier League title? It's time to find out with Rotterdam and Nathanius.
Yes, indeed. Let's see if HuK is able to bounce back after that pretty rough series against Wellmu. I still think, HuK being the experienced player that he is, Nate, I don't think it's going to shake him up all that much. I've been talking with him quite a bit about PvP, and scenario number 2 that we just saw on Vani Research is actually one that we were literally discussing this morning. So I think that's one of these losses that you just look at it and you're like, well, obviously I could have done things better, but maybe it wasn't meant to be in that game.
It happens. Now he faces potential elimination along with MacSed in this next upcoming series. I think that's going to be an interesting one to say the least. You have the maps already. We're going to start off on Deadwing.
Talk to me.
Then we will move on to Catalina, and we will finish up, if necessary, on Vani Research Station. So 3 pretty standard maps that we've seen in a lot of series so far in Premier League.
Yep. I think this series is going to be a little bit more explosive than the last one. Even though I really like the game on Catalina between Wellmu and HuK, but I think these two, there's a very good chance that MacSed is going to be aggressive, and there's even a good chance that HuK is going to return the aggression as well. Because I think both players will go into this series relatively confident. So there could be some fireworks in PvP. Of course, PvP is not always fireworks. Often it's a slow build-up to what we just saw on Vani Research Station, but it doesn't have to always be the case. As we saw, I think game number 1 was awesome on Catalina. I was reading the Team Liquid live report threads a little bit. A couple people saying like, oh, it was boring, yada yada. I was like, no, that Catalina game was awesome. How was it boring, Nate?
It was pretty good, man. Back and forth. Honestly, it's hard to keep in perspective as someone who doesn't play Protoss, and you look at like how much is it worth it to trade the probes for the stalkers and being able to hold on against those early pushes. It's pretty tricky because in my games, when you play Terran, it's like, okay, throw workers away left and right. But when you're playing Protoss, you really feel those losses very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Wellmu was able to win a game even where he fell down to 13 or 14
like 14
probes.
versus 26 workers.
So I don't know how anybody could ever say that game was boring. Nate, my PvP heart is dying when I read things like that. Anyways, we are loaded into our 3rd series of the day. The final day of WCS round of 32 action. At the end of today, we will know all 16 players that will head into the offline event, Nate, where everybody will come together as one big, happy StarCraft family. It's going to be great.
We'll get to party and play it out in France in April. It's going to be good times. We're loaded in, as you guys can see, to our first map of the lower bracket match, spawning in the northwest position of Deadwing. We have the Evil Geniuses Protoss HuK.
Those zooms are just getting better and better, Nate. It's almost like riding a roller coaster. It's introductions.
Nice and smooth.
Yeah, man. Infesa was the one who started with it, but Flo, especially now Infesa is officially retired, RIP, but he's still a great observer, of course.
Flo had to take up the mantle, Someone's got to run the Batcave, Roddy.
It's like only one person in the world can spin like that. Fonka has his own spin. It's a different spin. It's a great spin, though.
Yeah.
Anyways, over here on the right bottom side of the map, we have our blue Protoss. Representing Invictus Gaming, it is MacSed. I love that shot of MacSed, how he was like pressing his keyboard. That's like sometimes how they like try to make it sound like someone is, or make it seem like someone is actually doing something in a movie, but he's actually not really doing it. He's just like pressing key.
It's like I have to hack into the mainframe, but it's really just spamming random keys. Like, I don't think you understand how this thing works.
That's completely how that just looked, but we can confirm that MacSed is actually playing StarCraft II right now.
Some people out there, maybe in those live report threads, would say that's what playing Protoss is like. But I've tried it myself. Hitting my keyboard randomly did not cause 8 Colossi to appear and vaporize my enemy.
Have you seen this carbot animation video about PvP where both death balls roll against each other?
Oh, yeah, and both players are just spamming the big A
there's
button.
like the zealot in the comment center. He's like,
go,
1A,
go.
1A, 1A. If you guys haven't seen it, you truly have to check that one out. Just go to YouTube and type carbon animation PvP, and that should get you there.
They added the select all army hotkey in Heart of the Swarm. I'm just waiting for that attack all army hotkey.
Oh my god, so I think PvP is going to happen in all its glory in this one, Nate.
Yeah, I haven't actually, this is a very fast proxy. This has to be a Stargate, right, Kev?
Both players are proxying their second pylon. This is as dirty as PvP gets. I feel like the way that HuK has done it lines up slightly better, because now he's not supply blocked. But yeah, I think it's going to be a Stargate for both. It has to be a Stargate for both.
Oh boy. Well, if we weren't sure whether this was going to be an explosive series, I guess our answer is right there. So, talk to me, Kevin. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, this time both players will open up with an Oracle. It's very, very strange to open up with a Phoenix to proxy a target like that. So it's definitely going to be Oracles on both sides. HuK is opening up with a Stalker. Now, one Stalker is not enough to shoot down an Oracle, but it does help. I think the Mothership Core from MacSed might actually have enough energy by then. You know, I'm not as dirty as I am as a Protoss, Nate. I'm not going to deny I'm not dirty, because everybody knows that I'm a filthy Protoss. But I don't do this a whole lot, so I'm not 100% sure about how the energy from the Mothership Core is going to line up with this Oracle. But I might actually like the position.
HuK's got another probe in the bottom left too, and that makes me uncomfortable with that pylon. Is he gonna
Oracle into DT? It's a thing. No, you're left, but it's a thing.
I'm scared.
Look at this probe from MacSed. If MacSed finds it, that would be really unfortunate.
No. Well, that's a great scout for MacSed.
It's a great scout, but it's also very off-putting. What I'm even worried about more for HuK is that HuK did not build a Mothership Core. Now, the Mothership Core from MacSed has how much energy? 90. Okay, so he's definitely going to lose more than just a handful of probes over here. But HuK, on the other hand, like, if you think that this is a probe massacre, you have to close your eyes about what is about to happen in the main base of HuK. Because if you thought that was bad, this is going to be way worse.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing here to defend whatsoever for HuK, and his probes are running. They're running wild.
Well, I don't know how to commentate this, Nate.
I think,
it's a bunch of probes dying on both sides, but like I said, it's even worse on the side of HuK. Because HuK doesn't have photo. Okay, he's making a Phoenix now. I think that's very smart. If I was him, I would rally that. I actually really like the Phoenix. He should send that Phoenix to his own side of the map. So right now the work count is 16 for MacSed and 11 for HuK. Okay.
Well, brutal trades on both sides to kick this game off. Keep in mind, HuK does still have that proxy Twilight Council. Never really did anything with it, though. Can't really afford to at this point.
Maybe eventually decides to go for Blink, but that's also risky because
MacSed also has 3 probes that have just been chilling by his main ramp for a little while, by the way. These guys got really tired running from Oracles.
That's actually really bad, man.
So now HuK gets a couple more probe kills.
Yeah, losing 3 probes in his phase in the game. The Phoenix should be able to take care of that Oracle. Do we have any other units from MacSed? He has a photon overcharge, so it doesn't even really matter. HuK flies in. The Oracle from HuK will die.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate there for him.
Oh my god, HuK has lost more stuff. Why?
The Oracle ran in again.
No, the Phoenix chased the wrong Oracle, or at least he chased one Oracle, but MacSed went for a second Oracle, which is something that HuK did not expect. So now HuK is on 8 workers. Nate, I believe in a thing called a comeback, but with 8 probes, it's going to be very, very difficult.
He basically kicked him back to the start of this game.
Oh man, this has been really rough so far for HuK. Like, you prepare so much for a WCS series, and it's like in the first 2 games against Wellmo, he played very safe, very conservative, and not in any scenario was there a build that would kill him 100%. And you know, that is a very responsible, as I like to call them, PvP players. Every now and then you roll the dice, and this is a build by HuK where he indeed did roll the dice, because you know, there were multiple openings that was just going to Shrek him, and this was one of them.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough game for HuK, doing his best, using his Phoenix, trying to pick up the Stalkers, prevent them from being able to micro, but he has the defender's advantage now as that photon overcharge kicks in, and there's not really anything else HuK can do. GG, that Oracle ran in and killed the rest of his probes.
Yep, HuK in the end of the game had 3 workers left. Just very unfortunate. Played with fire there though, you know, you open up with a proxy Stargate. He decided to go not for a Mothership Core, but he went for a Phoenix, and that Phoenix, or excuse me, the Stalker, and the Stalker chased that probe all the way to the downside of the map. Like, if he had that Stalker in his main base, it could have been a different game. But yeah, these are definitely the games. Like, I think after the first series, I don't think HuK was, as we like to call StarCraft II players, on tilt yet. Like, I think that is a series that you looked at like, man, I don't think I had to lose it, but it happens. But these are the type of games, Nate, it's very hard to keep yourself composed. Like,
Yeah.
These kind of things do terrible things to your heart.
Yeah, I mean, you move your Oracle in, you're like, okay, there's only one Stalker, I can actually get something done here, and then you look back at your base, you're like, yeah.
Like, it doesn't happen very often that you kill 11 workers and you're extremely far behind.
Yeah.
Only in PvP.
I think that's all that needs to be said about that, Kev. Tough game. Second map, of course, Catalina now. 3 players, so...
Oh, man, and I really like... Sorry, Nate, that I interrupt you, but like I like the idea from HuK to make a Phoenix after that first Oracle. But then, like, the one Phoenix chased the Oracle.
That was a really good play by MacSed.
Yeah, yeah,
like,
I guess.
If you keep your Oracles together, then like HuK can kill them. But he recognized that he's like, well, you're not gonna have 2 Phoenix.
Yeah, I can't blame HuK, because like after that happens, after you lose so many probes, but you also kill so many probes, the last thing that I would be normally worried about is a second Oracle. But then again, maybe that is exactly what you should be worried about, because if the economy is already crippled and then you kill 5 or 6 more workers, well, then it's absolutely worth it. So perhaps just a brilliant call there by MacSed to go for Oracle number 2. It's not something that I saw coming, but, yeah, sick decision, I guess.
Yeah, sick plays here by MacSed as we are now loading into game number 2 of our lower bracket match. HuK needs to win the next 2 maps in a row if he wants to keep his hopes of making it to the round of 16 alive. And it's not going to be easy, Kev.
The next 2 maps and the following best of 3 as well. HuK definitely has a huge mountain to climb right now. Has to win 4 out of the next 5 competitive SC2 games that he's going to play. And it all has to start over here, as he is our Red Proto spawning on the 9 o'clock position of Catalina. Representing EG, it is HuK.
And his opponent in the northeast position, representing Invictus Gaming and China, he is MacSed. So, if HuK's gonna try anything odd, is this a game where he tries to dial it back, Kev?
Yeah, I don't think he will do something as risky as on Deathwing. I think that was just his go-to Deathwing build, and that normally, it will probably put him in a good position, or at least even. Yeah, the worst thing that could have just happened is being proxy stargated while you're the one who proxy stargating. I think this time he's going to play very similar to how he played against Wellmo earlier today on Catalina, which, he played well. He had nothing to worry about that game. I think he played very good. He was ahead for the majority of that game. Just in the end, there was one attack that he was not able to deal with after, once again, he made a good play canceling that Nexus. So I think he should just, it's really hard to compose yourself. Like, losing PvP is one thing. Losing a second game of Vani Research after your opponent has a better build order, like, that's not nice. Then your blood is starting to boil a tiny bit, but you're not, breathe in, breathe out, have a sip of water or whatever, and you'll be fine. But then a game like that on Deathwing, like, I can just see myself playing ladder and having those 3 games in a row. And trust me, Nate, right now, game number 4, I am not listening to the Spice Girls anymore.
It's a difficult situation to try to keep yourself composed in, trying to really get a good start to the year, as things can spiral out of control pretty quickly. But it's not over yet. MacSed has a cybernetic score just a few seconds earlier, not a big deal.
We're talking a lot about it from HuK's point of view, but I'm very curious to see how MacSed is going to approach this game on Catalina. Of course, his build was a little crazy as well on Deathwing. I think it's going to be a little more standard over here. Yes, as you see, he's actually warping in the second gateway already, so it's a very common opening. MacSed is not a stranger of putting on some 3 gateway aggression either. Like, HuK has done that build in the past, but MacSed has done that build pretty often as well. So there is a chance that MacSed is just going to try to be the aggressor this time. And I'm curious to see how that one will play out for him. As in general, MacSed is a pretty passive Protoss player.
Yeah. Well, with the 2 gateway openings, and this is really all I know as far as PvP openings. So this is my go-to build, Cav. I like the Stalker openings just because you can more easily defend. Like, if there was like a fast Stargate, you have a decent number of Stalkers out to hold off against anything, and being able to put pressure on is always nice if your opponent is playing greedy or does anything like a gateway expand. And we've seen it before where you can shut that down very quickly because your opponent doesn't have access to it for an overcharge there since the Nexus isn't ready. But when these two go up against each other, it's mostly the same thing. So it's really important not to be caught out of position with your first stalker.
Double chrono. Okay, HuK is actually the one that's going to wipe in gateway number 3.
Oh, MacSed just started his too.
Okay,
Here
so
we
they're
go.
doing, man, both games so far in this series, they're just doing mirror image builds. And this is very funny. It's all about identifying what you're up against. Normally, if you go for a build like this, you love seeing your enemy or your opponent having units outside of the map as well. You know, normally you think like, okay, I'm gonna have to run up a ramp. If you find units in the middle of the okay, that's a really good scout by HuK. I think he just saw that pylon on the bottom side of the map. So I think right now HuK has identified it. I think it's important for both players that they have to drop a Twilight Council behind this as soon as possible. The player that stays on 3 gateways forever is most likely going to be the one that will end up behind. Because these two players are pretty... Oh, HuK has 2 stalkers so far out of position. Oh my god, HuK is not aware that he's playing against this. He could, of course, drop a photon overcharge, but... Okay,
well, this is really difficult now. He has his mothership core with just enough energy. Almost popped that photon overcharge, and there it goes. As Warp Gate completes for both players. Now, not having that defensive pylon, not having that aggressive pylon means MacSed can't put too much more here. But if he actually catches these 2 stalkers at the time warp, things could get really bad too.
Does he want to do that though? If he time warps, he loses the mothership core. Now he could still theoretically recall it. HuK, of course, is going to try to...
Okay. Bit of a brutal loss there.
HuK has warped in 3 stalkers on the other side of the map, and MacSed sees this now. The mothership core is going to get sniped in the middle of the map. This is really huge, because of course he couldn't recall it. MacSed is going to win this skirmish, but there is no... Actually, I think it was a good call overall by MacSed to go for that warp in.
HuK does have his robo facility finishing up back home. He has another backup pylon that he could try to warp in from outside of MacSed's base, but I think at this point, with the Immortal production, should you just try to squeeze out an expansion with this?
Yeah, soonish. I think doing it right now is a little risky after he just lost a bunch of stalkers. That was a really wild phase. It was a wild 20 seconds. I like the aggressive warp in from HuK. But then in the end, you know, his other units were still too far out of position. So even though they sniped the mothership core in the middle of the map, which is great, because that normally means like, yes, no photon overcharge. But because of that, HuK also lost a couple of units, you know, in the natural. And that was, of course, very good news again for MacSed. And in the end, MacSed came out of that with a small supply lead, but they were even in workers, and HuK has quicker immortals. Like, I do think this is going to go into an expand build, for sure. Like, I don't see any players sticking on one base over here. But it's... You know, it's easier said than done. We have all the information. It's like, you know, both players are okay to expand. If you're actually playing this game, especially after it's been so aggro early on, you know, with both players losing pylons and stalkers on each other's side of the map, you want to think twice in general before dropping that Nexus too quickly.
Yeah, so Robo Facility's finishing up soon for MacSed. He's getting his blink at the same time. So you like MacSed's position more overall, Kev, or...
I think it's extremely even. I actually think that HuK has a stronger army. He should definitely expand though. Like, I don't understand what he just spent his money on. He spent his money on Immortal number 3 while he could have already expanded. I think MacSed is going to expand now. If MacSed stays on one base, I'd be so shocked. He has a lot of free supply. Oh, he actually finds that pylon. Good job there, by. Oh, he loses high ground vision.
Kill it.
Careful, because there are blink stalkers on the chase.
Yeah, the probe moved over to the natural for MacSed, but he still has not started. Okay, there's the Nexus starting at the same time as HuK.
Oh, HuK is moving out. This is a terrible decision. MacSed can blink forward. If MacSed blinks forward on top of these immortals, then I think he has a good chance. But he doesn't want to do it. He has so many stalkers. Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to do it because he has no reinforcements pylon.
He doesn't want to take that risk, but now he can safely come back up to this ramp where the 3rd immortal is waiting.
I think he does not know that HuK doesn't have blink. Because if he would have blinked forward there, Nate, on 2 immortals, you snipe 2 immortals very quickly.
Yeah, it's game.
Yeah. Because then, like, after that, HuK can't micro anymore. With 3 immortals, it's a different ball game. Especially because MacSed has dropped an expand behind it as well.
Still impressive that HuK is trying to come out here and bully when those 4 stalkers could just blink into his main base. Going to force out the photon overcharge here now, too.
Oh, man. I can't believe that just happened. HuK running so far out of position.
He's still moving across the map.
I mean, his army, okay, like right now...
He does have that pylon close to the 3rd.
Okay, a couple of sentries are being wiped in, so he has to be very careful. Once again, HuK does not have blink in this game. Ooh, that mothership core...
Does get it. Nice pick off from MacSed. And he's getting to work on the natural. He's going to force fill this army out without that blink. Life is hard for HuK.
Yep. Come on. Get stalker number 3 as well. There he goes. That was well played there by MacSed. HuK display. Oh, okay. Oh, man.
Gets up the ramp and that immortal immediately sectioned off. The force fields to defend it were pretty reasonable.
Yeah, but MacSed has photon overcharge as well. And now he needs a... Is he going to wipe in more sentries? MacSed has a lot of money. He needs to chrono boost stuff.
Yeah,
He wipes in Stalkers, which actually surprised me a little bit. Well, maybe that doesn't. HuK's going to try to intercept the units that were on the other side of the map. Man, this is just such a wild PvP series. I don't even know what's going on here. I don't think both players truly knows what's going on in this game. The worker count is 32 against 29, so MacSed in a slightly better position. HuK's army is still a little bit stronger because of the 3 Immortals. Of course, MacSed has Blink, which will allow him to make a couple plays. He's going to try to blink into the main base again, Nate. And of course, he sniped that Mothership Core before, so this time there's no photon overcharge. HuK can be very fortunate that this is 3 Stalkers instead of 4.
Yeah, that 3 Stalker hit squad
is not the same.
No.
Because you can see it, there's a massive overkill. 2 Stalkers will always overkill unless you have perfect split shots all the time. Like he already got 5 probes, which is still very good for MacSed, but if these were 4 Stalkers, he would probably kill like 8 or 9 or 10, and then it's truly devastating.
Yeah, really rough, but does lose one of these Stalkers. Yeah. So nice grab there for HuK. It's something. He does still have his pylon out on the map. MacSed does not have any pylons out watching him, but Max is also getting that Robo Bay.
If there's one move I don't like, it's just the fact that HuK is getting a Twilight Console right now rather than a Robo Bay. He already had the stronger army because he was up in Immortals, so I really felt he should have just gone up to Colossus, and then he would always at least be the player that has a stronger army. It would be a lot less immobile, but it would be the stronger army. And now he's down in workers, and he's going for an, in my opinion, inferior composition, because I still think Colossus reigns supreme in most scenarios in PvP.
Yeah.
I'm very worried right now for HuK. I was worried before, but now I'm extremely worried. And MacSed has played very well so far in this game. It's been a really wild, bizarre game, but I think now with that, you know, there's 3 Stalkers blinking in the main, and the 4 Stalkers before sniping the Mothership Core.
4 more.
Yeah.
I love this because he's pulling HuK's attention to the natural expansion. That is, that army moves down and then boom, blinks straight into the main, and
even if he gets 3 or 4 probes here, that's awesome. That is a really big deal in PvP.
A couple of these probes do manage to barely slip away, being one shot from death, so that's something for HuK. But MacSed is still just building and building upon an advantage.
Yep. And once again, okay, HuK is dropping the Robo Bay now, but it's just, you know, that's the thing. Like, he could have already been up to 1.5, maybe even 2 Colossus. And then I think we're looking at a different game. And right now, MacSed is actually the one that's ahead in the Colossus count. The only thing that HuK is going for himself is that he's slightly ahead in upgrades. Big blink into the main base. And MacSed actually has way more Stalkers over here. And of course, he has Blink Stalkers. HuK doesn't have Blink Stalkers. HuK barks in a few additional Stalkers, but MacSed definitely getting the better trade so far.
Yeah, the Blinks, man. Blinks doing so well for him as his Colossi count continues to climb. HuK is getting +2 attack a little bit faster than MacSed, so you know it's little things here and there for trying to keep this game, you know, alive. And MacSed's though, his army's still so nice. Those Colossi, I keep thinking about that series versus Wellmoon, where I'm like, yeah, HuK's army looks great, and then 4 Colossi just laser beam everything.
I mean, it's still a doable game for HuK. It's definitely not over. If you look at the work count right now, they have evened up. The MacSed is up in supply, but actually I won't say he has more Stalkers, and that's not even true. They're even in Stalkers. MacSed does have a lot of Zealots, and I don't think he has charge. No, he doesn't. So the 10 Zealots in MacSed's army, that's kind of wasted supply right now. You know, Zealots without charge in this phase in the game in PvP doesn't really do a whole lot for you. I mean, they soak up shots against from the Immortals, but that's about it.
Yeah, the Archons that can eventually come into play, or the Colossi, if we head in that direction, can also do very well. As HuK is starting to get those out now.
Do you think that MacSed forgot charge? Like, I feel he has the research. Okay, there we go.
Do you ever intentionally not get it? Yeah, there it goes.
Especially when you have this amount of Zealots, you know?
Brother, tell me a build where just not getting charge is a favorable.
This is starting to look very dicey for HuK. This is a very scary army by MacSed. I do think that he just forgot charge. He probably thought he had it already by now, but I don't think it matters that much. There's a War Prism heading towards the main base. The amount of gateways that MacSed currently has is 6 against 6. 2 more on the way for HuK. But is that Colossus trapped? Oh my god, there is a Colossus trapped in HuK's base. But, okay. Oh no! And he just like, he freed his Colossus, but then he unpowered 3 of his gates. RIP.
Well, whatever you got to do to get out, man.
And right on this moment, a War Prism flies into the main base. I don't know, Nate. This is not looking good. HuK needs a miracle over here. Well, that's the start of a miracle. MacSed shot at his own Stalkers. But he needs that a few more times to happen, because this army of MacSed looks very, very intimidating.
Yeah, he frozen overcharges that Nexus. At the same time, had to pull one of his Colossi to defend his main base. This Nexus continuing to drop in hit points. Force fields from MacSed are trying to buy him some time. The Archon is not up front, so he's able to kill that Nexus and get away. Additional reinforcements being warped in from MacSed. His charge about 20-30 seconds off. And yeah, that Warp Prism really did a nice number. Now the next Colossus can come back and join this army, but there's so much here for MacSed.
Yeah, and there's still that Warp Prism in the main as well, which forces HuK to leave a couple of units behind. This is just almost an
Warp
unfair
Prism
fight.
is such a pain.
Yeah, and MacSed doesn't have to end the game right here, right now. Like, no, Charge is about to finish up. He's going up to 3 bases on the other side of the map. You know, time is MacSed's friend. It's definitely not his enemy.
Yeah, his next Colossus pops out, but then even HuK's Nexus taking a little bit of damage. That Warp Prism's gonna barely slip out with 2 Zealots. Nice. Saves 2 of them.
Yeah, I don't know how to spin this game anymore. Like, I think, yeah, HuK is going to try to go up to 3 bases again. That's pretty much the only thing he can do. But MacSed has played this out very well, Nate. I really love this attack. I love the Warp Prism in the main. He created an advantage. Like, in a certain game, a certain phase in the game, I think this game was very even. But I think it all went into MacSed's favor the moment that the HuK tried to break the natural against those force fields.
Yeah,
while there were 4 Stalkers.
He just threw away the Immortal,
Yep.
a couple Stalkers here.
Exactly, and then the Stalkers from MacSed on the other side of the map. Like, MacSed handled that very well, because it's not easy to have Stalkers on the other side of the map while dropping force fields in your own natural. That was just excellent crisis management by MacSed, and him being the Blink player, he really utilized Blink. You know, sometimes you see people going for Blink after a 3-gate opening, and then you just sit back, and it's just like, well, you know, then you may as well just drop the Robo. But MacSed is like, no, I got Blink, so I want to utilize it. I want to make the best of it, and he certainly did.
Yeah. MacSed's getting ready to go for another push here as this Colossus moves up the ramp. It's a total of 5 with this army. For MacSed, and HuK is just at 4. And you can try to use the positioning, but there's just a lot more meat that HuK will have to chew through before he can actually get to his opponent's expensive tech unit.
Yep, MacSed truly needs to have a horrible engagement to throw this one around. And so far, actually, I really like his engagement. That's a good time warp as well. Gets a couple of easy hits off, easy swipes off with his Colossus. HuK is going to try to spin his battle in his favor by getting a better position, but there's a Warp Prism in the main that's forcing HuK to warp in units he doesn't even want to warp in. Stalkers are dying, MacSed has more money, more production, and he has a better army. +3 is about to finish up. Maybe this is HuK's moment to fight, and he's like, okay, now I have +3. But, yeah, it's an unfair fight, Nate.
It's not looking all that good, Cav, as the Zealots continue to ravage the main base. Going to pick off the cannon that's behind the mineral line, and with the static defense gone, there's just a little bit more money here for MacSed, since HuK never really able to saturate that 3rd base. And HuK steps down into this low ground area, and MacSed's, yeah, I don't think he's going to say no to a fight at this point. Coming up forward, Zealots charging around very quickly all over this army with that massive Archon force, overwhelming HuK, and MacSed will advance to the final match.
Definitely a very solid series by our Chinese Protoss. He looked a little sloppy, a little scrappy in his first series of the day against Igas. That wasn't flawless. There wasn't flawless execution of the build that we know he's capable of executing so well. But in this series, it was a bizarre series. You know, we saw it all with Deathwing, proxy against proxy. And then Catalina, they both opened up 3-gate, trading blows back and forth. But in the end, a couple of really good mid-game decisions by MacSed.
Yeah, I have to say that first game, man, that just reminds me of all the nightmares I have when I'm when I try to play any game versus an aggressive Protoss, especially. But considering that they both went for the crazy builds, there was, you know, it seems like at a certain point there's not a lot either of them can really do to defend, because it's all about who can just deal more damage. And MacSed squeezed ahead by building that mothership core first.
Yep. You know, like if you go for builds like that, it's also 2 ways. If you have a Stalker out on the map like HuK had, you make it a lot harder for your opponent to guess what he's going for, you know, because it's very normal to see Stalkers. If you go for a proxy Stalker and you keep everything in your main because you're going for a mothership core, that gives the idea away a little quicker that your opponent might have to worry about a Stargate. But in this situation, HuK was actually just trying to, you know, like he did something that he wasn't really doing, because the Stalker was not a crucial part of his opening. That was the Stargate.
And the Twilight that he built for the follow-up, which he never got to use.
And it got scouted as well, you know, to make things go from better to worse. Overall, it was just a pretty bizarre series, and I think a very, very rough PvP day for HuK. You know, it started off so well. I think game number 1, the Catalina against Wellmo, I think he played very good. In the end, got a little bit unfortunate, but I think he played very solid. And from there on, it just went downhill. And It's just one of these days. I think every Protoss player has been familiar with that. But I do want to give all props to MacSed though in this series, because I think he played awesome, especially the game on Catalina, because that was not a game where I felt like he locked out in one way. It was 3-gate against 3-gate. You know, a couple crazy decisions, back and forth, but then HuK decided to go for the Robo, MacSed went for the Twilight, and it was awesome Stalker movement all around.
Yeah, things just kind of fell apart after that for HuK after a couple really good engagements for MacSed. So MacSed moves forward. He'll be playing against the loser of our next series. We're going to have another Terran versus Protoss. Aigas, the Australian Terran, going up against Wellmu, the Finnish Protoss. Whoever wins that series gets out of the group. They're off to the round of 16 in first place, and a nice, comfortable feeling.
Definitely surprising results so far, I think, in the final day of round of 32 action. So that is coming your way, but not before. We're going to check in with Sue one more time.
Thank you very much, Rotterdam. And with that, we will unfortunately have our first elimination of the day with the Canadian Protoss HuK falling out of Group H, whereas MacSed will keep his tournament life alive in Group H. Coming up next, we'll have our winners match. It'll be Australia versus Finland with Wellmu and Aigas coming head-to-head. We'll see which of these two players will come out first in their group. Make sure to tell us what you guys are thinking, hashtag WCS, and of course, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Gigabyte, for making all of this possible. Stay tuned, guys. More WCS Premier League action coming after this.